Alright, so run this plan by me again. Okay, you're gonna go in, swipe that Target exclusive Blu-ray of La La Land that he never shuts up about, and get out of there with little hassle. I've got eyes on his room. He shouldn't be back from the movies for another half hour. Gotcha. Ortiz's 2 is underway. I'm going in.
What the hell? Who goes there?
Oh crap! He was here this whole time. Abort, abort!
Huh. I wonder what that was all about. I've got to update my security measures. Oh snap! We're rolling! What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Ocean's 8. Serving as a spin-off to Steven Soderbergh's Ocean's trilogy and featuring an ensemble cast, the plot basically follows Debbie Ocean, played by Sandra Bullock, the estranged sister to Danny Ocean, previously played by George Clooney, as she leads a group of women as they plan to rob the Met Gala by stealing a diamond necklace. Going into this movie, I had a bit of interest to see it, but also a bit of apprehension as well. First off, I love heist films. They are among my favorite kinds of movies to watch, and Steven Soderbergh's Ocean's trilogy, consisting of Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, and Ocean's 13, are considered some of the modern-day quintessential examples of how to do a heist film. Ocean's 11 in itself is a remake of the 1960 film of the same name, starring the Rat Pack. Second off, the idea of an all-female Ocean's movie wasn't that bad of an idea to me, but it didn't sit well, of course, with some people before this movie even got released. Much like another movie that we got recently that got the all-female treatment, 2016's Ghostbusters. Now, that movie got hated before it even got released, and my opinion on that film goes like this. I didn't entirely dislike the film, but I didn't entirely like it either. I think it's a meh, mediocre, middle-of-the-road movie. Its most heinous crime to me was that it wasn't very funny, and that disappointed me considering that it's directed by Paul Feig and stars some actresses that I am a fan of. So with Ocean's 8, I like the cast here as well, and it's even directed by a strong director, Gary Ross, who has previously directed Pleasantville and the first Hunger Games, so I at least expected a fun ride. Starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Sandra Bullock in the lead role of Debbie Ocean. I've always been a fan of Sandra Bullock, and here I thought she did a very good job playing the leader of this crew that she has assembled to go rob the Met Gala from. She has a bit of backstory to her, of course, her being the younger estranged sister to Danny Ocean, previously played by George Clooney, and it's very clear from the start that he is deceased, and Debbie Ocean herself has just been released from prison, and the whole time she was locked up, she has been planning this kind of gig. And I think Bullock has a lot of charisma in this kind of role. Also sporting charisma is Cate Blanchett as an old friend of Debbie Ocean, and I love Cate Blanchett as well. She is one of the best film actresses alive, I feel, and the chemistry she has between herself and Bullock and them doing the rounds in assembling this crew was so nice to see. And their plan is to rob this really expensive necklace from the actress played by Anne Hathaway. And I love Anne Hathaway as well, and her performance here I think is one of the stronger ones on the merit that I feel like she was playing almost a parody of herself, being kind of like the stuck-up actress, as a lot of people don't like Anne Hathaway in real life, which I personally don't understand, as she's personally one of my favorites, but here she's very funny in her demeanor and her unknowingly unaware of what's going on with the situation at hand, with this heist going on. Then with the rest of the players making up the titular Ocean's 8, we have Mindy Kaling as a jewelry maker and Sarah Paulson as a profiteer. They were both cool additions to the movie, and they were nicely used within the heist itself. We have Helena Bonham Carter as a fashion designer. She has a ridiculous accent, which is mostly what Carter does within her shtick in other movies, but she is integral to the actual plot as she gets in close with Anne Hathaway's character with what she actually wears, especially the really expensive diamond necklace that the crew is going after. So I thought she was competent for that role. And then we also have Rihanna as a hacker and Awkwafina as a thief. These two were the players of the cast that I had the most skepticism towards, as they aren't really major actors. I mean, I've seen them in movies before, like Rihanna in Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets and Awkwafina in Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising. Well, I thought that they were the weakest links of the actual Ocean's 8. I thought they did fine jobs and played a lesser extent compared to their other female comrades, so there's that. There are even some male co-stars here, like Richard Armitage as an ex of Debbie Ocean, who she wants to get revenge on, and he really didn't do that much to impress me within this role. There's also James Corden, who shows up in the final 30 minutes of the movie, and I'm not going to give away what his role is, but he had some levity as to what he played, and there's even a couple cameos from the previous Ocean's trilogy here as well. So all in all, with this ensemble cast here, while I thought mostly everyone did nice jobs, I think the three standouts are Bullock, Blanchett, and Hathaway. The writing here, and by extension the execution of the focus directing-wise, felt very familiar as to what we've seen before in not just the Ocean's films, but other heist movies as well. This movie is directed by Gary Ross, as I said before, but he also co-wrote the screenplay, and it felt like he very much was trying to emulate what Soderbergh did previously with his Ocean's trilogy. In fact, Soderbergh is an executive producer on this movie. So from that tidbit, it looks like Soderbergh gave his blessing to have the franchise continue without him directing. Yet at the same time though, from the way this movie is structured and styled, it did very much feel like what Soderbergh had done previously over a decade ago. So in that regard, I feel it's probably the biggest downfall of this movie, where it is predictable and routine in how it is played out. We do see the crew come together, plan out the heist, and execute it with precision. And while we see them prepare, we see montages of how they get what they need to get and see what they do so they can get this thing going. And with the actual target of the heist being this $150 million diamond necklace, you can say that's what gives this movie its female flair. Jewelry has always been a common target for heist movies before this one, so the intention here maybe is that men like cash and gold and women like going after jewelry. Either way, that kind of added on to the sameness I felt with this movie, going off of a similar style and structure to the previous Ocean's films. I felt that the way it was pulled off did still look very pristine. I must give big shout outs to the costume and production designers of this movie, as the way the movie looks when it actually gets to the Met Gala heist, it's so gorgeous, super stunning. The actual dresses and outfits that our main players wear, and even everything else from the style that they had, particularly Cate Blanchett's character with what she wears. I thought she stood out from the pack in her outfits. Yeah, wow. This movie has a bunch of eye candy, not just with our main set of actresses, but also in what they wear and where they are robbing the diamond necklace from. This movie is well shot, well edited, and also well directed in what Gary Ross brings for the entertainment value that this movie has. And it also applies to the music. It has familiar jazzy and upbeat tones and vibes that we've heard previously in other Ocean's movies, but they kept the flow of the narrative going and had me still into it. As pacing-wise as well, this movie runs nicely at a little under 2 hours, about an hour and 50 minutes. I was always into it. Really, when it comes down to this movie overall, yes, it's very similar and familiar to the other Ocean's movies, save for the villain, which is the other issue I should mention that I have with this film. This movie lacks a central villain. There's no Andy Garcia breathing down our protagonist's necks. Unless you want to count Richard Armitage's character as an antagonist of sorts, he still really didn't do much for the film's narrative. He's just a part of a side plot where Debbie Ocean wants revenge on him, and that's basically it. I didn't find him to be that prominent or notable to begin with either. But still, when it comes to this movie and what it's trying to do and what it does, in my opinion, really well, it's being a good old-fashioned heist movie that does make for something that is enjoyable in my mind. From what I remember of the previous Ocean's films, I don't think that this is up to par as those entries, even compared to Soderbergh's recent Logan Lucky, aka Ocean 7-Eleven. I don't think it's as strong as that one either, but on its own, in its own capacity, on a filmmaking and entertainment level, I think that Ocean's 8 is a solid heist comedy, and for those in the mood for seeing a movie like this, I recommend it. My final verdict for Ocean's 8 is 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Ocean's 8. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.